August 26th, 2022?
I don't remember. We certainly had one meeting with the CMA over the summer.
You don't remember whether that was before August 26th or after?
No.
How would you quantify the harm to SIE if this transaction goes through?
I think the harm to SIE arises from gamers deserting our platform and going to Xbox. So it goes way beyond the narrow contribution that those gamers spend on Call of Duty itself. It would include the amount of money that those gamers spend on consoles, they spend on peripherals, that they spend on other games, and that they spend on subscription services.
You're saying that but for the Activision games, you would have fewer PlayStation gamers? Is that your testimony?
Yes.
How many fewer?
It's obviously a hypothetical question, but we have PlayStation gamers who spend their time playing Call of Duty. That population would certainly be at risk. In the US, the Call of Duty gamers the PlayStation gamers play Call of Duty, only Call of Duty for their time. That population would be at risk.
Do you agree that the PC platform and mobile platforms are not competitor platforms to PlayStation platform or SIE platforms?
I would say that the PC platform is a very direct competitor to the PlayStation platform.
On a global basis, assuming the console market contains only Xbox and PlayStation, what percentage of that global market is yours?
At what point in time?
Start with 2021.
For the current generation of consoles?
Is that how you count them when you report to the regulators?
We have somewhere between 60 and 65% of that market.
In all the earnings calls that have happened since the transaction was announced, do you recall anyone from Sony Group or SIE ever saying that this transaction would harm Sony?
I don't know because I don't listen to the calls.
Have you ever told an investor that you don't think you can be competitive in SIE if this transaction goes through?
I don't know.
What do you believe then is going to happen after the transaction with the Activision games?
I believe that they're going to use Call of Duty somehow to damage us. And it may be complete foreclosure, it may be partial foreclosure.
You don't have any opinion about whether they're more likely to do one or the other?
I have no idea what's going on in their heads, so no.
So if there's partial foreclosure, would that be a harm to your business?
In our opinion, yes.
Is that?
Because it would result in some form of degraded experience for PlayStation gamers.
Let's talk about ZeniMax if we could. Do you recall when Microsoft made the announcement that it was going to purchase ZeniMax?
It was some point in the middle of 2020.
Let's look at RX-70. See that email dated 9/22/2020?
I do.
And were you copied on that email?
Yes, I copied.
But if you go to what I count as page 9 and the topic is key discussion topics for next steps.
Yep.
And the first thing that's discussed there is how to proceed with those 2 key partnership agreements, right?
Correct.
Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo had been promised to you as exclusives.
Correct.
You had a contract. with ZeniMax,
Correct?
and Microsoft honored that contract, did they not?
They did.
So you had no reason to believe they wouldn't honor contracts because they had honored their contracts with you despite them purchasing ZeniMax Bethesda, who developed Deathloop and Ghost.
Correct.
You don't think there's anything wrong with doing exclusives, do you?
As a point of difference, which I think these games were, yes.
So you don't have any quarrel with Redfall becoming exclusive?
Don't like it, but I have fundamentally no quarrel with it.
And you don't have any quarrel with Starfield becoming exclusive on Xbox when it's released?
I don't like it, but I don't view it as anti-competitive.
On February 21st, 2023, did you attend a meeting with the European Commission? Were representatives from Microsoft and Xbox also present at that meeting?
Yes.
Mr. Kotick was there on behalf of Activision?
Yes.
You spoke to him?
Yes.
Did he say he would stay to try and negotiate a deal regarding Call of Duty after the transaction closed?
He said he would like to have discussions about negotiating a deal.
Did you tell him that you were not interested in doing a deal?
I told him that I thought the transaction was anti-competitive, and I hope that the regulators would do their job and block it.
If you were on the other end, wouldn't you take that as you didn't want to do a deal?
I think there's a lot of confusion here. My comment was specifically in the context of Microsoft's acquisition of Activision. I think what Bobby wanted to do was to cover himself by extending the marketing collaboration between Sony and Activision in the event of the transaction not proceeding.
Do you and your colleagues negotiate deals with publishers all the time?
Microsoft is not a publisher. Microsoft is a platform holder. That's why this deal. That's why this deal is so difficult. There is complete difference in incentive between the incentives that Activision have and the incentives that Microsoft would have post acquisition.
You believe that Microsoft Xbox is not a publisher?
I believe that they are principally a platform holder in the way that we are principally a platform holder.
They are a publisher, aren't they?
They are.
You have deals with Microsoft already, don't you?
We do.
You have deals with Microsoft to put Xbox games on PlayStation currently, correct?
Correct.
Why is it not necessary?
Because publishers have every incentive to provide an equal gaming experience or as good a gaming experience as possible on all platforms.
Let me go back to January 2022. Do you remember talking to the Wall Street Journal after the Activision Microsoft transaction was announced?
No.
January, early February? If a Sony spokesperson or an SIE spokesperson made a comment to the Wall Street Journal about the transaction, would that have been approved by you?
I would say that it should have been.
Well, on January 20th, 2022, did you believe that Microsoft would abide by contractual agreements and continue to ensure Activision games are multi-platform?
Did I believe that, or did I say it to the...
Did you believe it?
Yes, I believed it at that stage.
So if that's in the Wall Street Journal, you don't disagree with that statement as of January 20th, 2022?
As of that date, correct.
Yes. What were you relying on when you to come to that belief that they would abide by their contractual agreements and continue to ensure Activision games are multi-platform?
At that stage on the conversation that I'd had with Mr. Spencer,
What did Mr. Spencer tell you?
he told me that it was his intention to ensure that Activision content continued to be made available on PlayStation.
And at PX3109, he also confirmed to you in an email that that was his intent, correct?
Correct.
And the draft agreement that he included did not cause you to change your belief at that time, correct?
Okay.
So at that time, he included an Exhibit A, which had, in your words, some of the Activision games, but not all, correct?
Correct.
For example, you said Overwatch 2 wasn't on here, right?
Correct.
Overwatch 2 is on PlayStation today, is it not?
It is.
So when you read that and you looked at Exhibit A, you were not concerned then that that Microsoft was going to make Call of Duty exclusive.
At that point, no.
At that point, did you have an agreement with Microsoft to have Minecraft on PlayStation?
The existing publisher agreement with Microsoft was in force.
You've never brought any action against Microsoft regarding Minecraft and the versions that have been on PlayStation, correct?
Correct.
On January 20th, 2022, did you believe Mr. Spencer when he said the Activision deal was basically a mobile play?
I was not convinced about that.
You weren't?
No.
You know Mr. Deering, right?
Yes.
Who is Mr. Deering?
He was my original boss in PlayStation Europe.
Would you consider him a mentor?
Yes.
You've looked at this email before, haven't you? RX32, which is, I'll hand it to you in a moment, which is an email exchange between Mr. Deering on January 20th, 2022. And this is an exchange where Mr. Deering wrote to you first on January 19th of 2022, right?
Correct.
And the subject matter is the Microsoft acquisition of Activision.
Correct.
And then you write back to him on January 20th, right above where he writes to you on the 19th.
Correct.
And you say, talking about the transaction, it is not an Xbox exclusivity play at all, correct?
Correct.
And you believe that when you wrote it?
When I wrote it, yes.
They're thinking bigger than that, and they have cash to make moves like this. You believe that, correct?
Correct.
You said I've spent a fair amount of time with both Phil and Bobby over the past day. Was that true?
I think that may 10 or 15 minutes each.
What did you discuss with Bobby Kotick?
Bobby wanted to assure me that Call of Duty will continue to be made available on PlayStation.
So both he and Phil assured you of that?
Yes.
Separately?
Separately.
You say there, I'm pretty sure we will continue to see COD on PlayStation for many years to come, right?
Correct.
You also said we have some good stuff cooking. Keep your eyes peeled. What were you referring to?
I was probably referring to the imminently to be announced acquisition of Bungie.
You announced that days after this deal was announced.
I believe so.